published in Dawn, January 10, 2021. Police Violence by Zoha Wasim. This month marks 3 years that Naqiabullah Masood was killed. Police violence in Pakistan has relatively declined since 2018, especially since his death and the widespread public outcry that followed. However, such violence, including police shootings, remains endemic as evidenced by the killings of Amal Umar and Nabil Hudboy in Karachi, the Sahiwal incident, and most recently the murder of Osama Sadi in Islamabad. The tendency for the police to resort to violence can be attributed to a number of factors, including the prevalence of an authoritarian police culture and the lingering effects of security operations that have routinely encouraged excessive use of force to quell terrorism, an issue that remains vaguely defined in our laws and lay conversations. One of the primary reasons behind the phenomenon is the continued reliance on militarized responses not only to terrorism, but also to routine crime and threats to public order. Crime and the maintenance of public order are conflated with Pakistan's national and domestic security policies, which results in routine criminality being addressed with the handedness of law enforcement agencies, rather than through socio-economic and structural reforms that can help reduce crime and settle political grievances peacefully. This trend can be witnessed, through varying degrees, across successive civilian and military regimes. These trends are now taking place in the wider context of growing intolerance towards dissent and non-compliance with authoritarian policing and state mechanisms, not to mention problematic legal frameworks, that is, ADA, PECA and the sedition law, that are applied to curb political dissent and opposition. Unsurprisingly, in this environment, the will to make police organizations less militarized and more community-friendly remains weak. Counterterrorism policing, which demands hard policing strategies, is still preferred. This is in sharp contrast to community-oriented policing that is geared to serve and protect, not defend and destroy. The decline in police violence in terms of numbers may be due to a few reasons. First, there has been a reduction in the incidence of attacks on police and security officers, at least compared to the 2013 to 2016 period. Thus, there may be less incentive to avenge the killings of state officials. Second, Pakistan has seen a reduction in the frequency of terrorist attacks generally, and the momentum generated since the aftermath of the AP's Peshawar attack in 2014 has waned, leading to a decline in security operations and the space they create for police-handedness. And third, the backlash generated after the killing of Naqib and the Sahiwal incident has demanded the police introspect and take stock, or at least contain extrajudicial practices till some of the lost legitimacy is regained. But these factors offer temporary respite from police killings, which are likely to occur due to the inability of policing institutions and its administrators to institutionalize structural reforms within LEAS. These reforms are necessary to help develop an institutional philosophy that is separate from that which still sees regular policing and routine police work as a war against crime, and that looks at marginalized and minority communities as harbingers of disorder and chaos. Bleak as it may sound, police killings will also continue if the state with its multiple power centers refuses to address its own insecurities. The criminalization of otherwise non-criminal acts and trigger-happy police organizations are symptoms of state insecurity, evident in South Asia since the colonial period, and one of the key reasons why reforms do not take root in the post-colonial context. State insecurity produces institutions that perform in reactive, repressive and discriminatory ways. Pushback to and criticism of such repression is met with further violence, overt or covert, meted out by the state through its law enforcement agencies. Thus, the cycle of police violence continues, and its victims are often innocent civilians like Osama Sadi. This cycle must be broken. But it cannot be broken if we remain fixated on establishing heavily armed and specialized police units, officers of which are trained to kill and then deployed to the streets once the units have been disbanded, or even otherwise. It also cannot be broken if state institutions and the laws they are designed to enforce remain embedded in colonial structures that the post-colonial state all too conveniently continues to rely upon. To limit police excesses, we must address police militarization, 1. By realizing that it encourages the use of excessive force. 2. By addressing how militarism is internalized by police officers through training and education. And 3. By limiting external interferences in routine policing and police work. The writer is a postdoctoral research fellow at University College London. Published in Dawn, January 10, 2021. Like, comment, share and subscribe my channel Dawn Vocabulary with Urdu Meaning.